Which of the following pictures do you find more attractive? Which looks more stylish? Which more professional, more considered? If you're like most people, you'll have instinctively been more drawn to the image on the left. And if you've ever done any photography, you'll be able to articulate why. It's better composed. That's because it obeys what's known in the trade as the rule of thirds. So what's photography got to do with writing? Well, it's an example of how the human brain is hot-wired to view the world in threes. When stuff is divided into threes, it just seems more balanced somehow, and that's as true of the written word as it is of the visual world. Let's look at some examples. Famous threes like 3 blind mice, 3 wise monkeys, and 3 musketeers. In rhetoric, there's a particular type of three that has a very powerful effect on the ear. It's called the rising trickle-on. And a rising trickle-on is a group of 3 things, and each one gets longer towards the end. Let's take a look at some examples. Here we have Caesar's famous 3-part phrase, Veni, Vidi, Vici, which becomes a rising trickle-on when translated into English. I came, I saw, I conquered. Notice how the last word conquered is twice the length of came and saw. And Shakespeare had Julius Caesar address the people in a different rising trickle-on, friends, Romans, countrymen. In this one, each successive word is longer than the previous one. Friends is 1 syllable, Romans is 2, and countrymen is 3. Julius Caesar wasn't the only politician to use the rising trickle-on to engage and persuade his audience. Here's a fabulous example from the UK politician Douglas Alexander, who used the rising trickle-on in the lead-up to the 2014 Scottish referendum. I am Scottish by birth, by choice and by aspiration. Rousing stuff, eh? Can't you just smell Douglas Alexander's love of his country? Those words are enough to bring a tear to the eye of anyone who longs to be back in the old country of valour. But hang on a minute, let's take a closer look at that rising trickle-on. As one commentator pointed out in the FT, what Alexander appears to be saying here is, on the one hand, he had absolutely no choice to be Scottish because he was born that way. And yet, he's also claiming that he did choose to be Scottish. Finally, he seems to be claiming that he's not Scottish at all, but he aspires to be so. In other words, the rising trickle-on sounds great to the ear, but in this instance it's being used to disguise contradictory nonsense. And that actually gives us another great reason to study rhetoric, as well as using it to persuade. Because rhetoric can help us spot when faulty logic is being used to pull the wool over our eyes. Let's take a look at some less dodgy examples of the rising trickle-on.